Welcome to Hard Hats and Horizons, the podcast where we dig deep into the construction and economic developments shaping the future of Dallas-Fort Worth. We bring you insights from industry leaders and visionaries who are driving growth in North Texas. From construction projects to industry trends and insights, we cover it all. So grab your hard hat and join us as we explore the people and projects shaping the skyline of DFW. Now, here is your host, Andrea Pender.
Okay, so we're going to welcome Christian to the Hard Hats and Horizons podcast. I'm super excited for this because it's still pretty new for us. So thank you for volunteering to be one of our first people on here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So Christian is the Vice President of Project Development Services at JLL. And I've known him for years, but I have a list of questions here that I may not know all these answers to. So I'm kind of excited to get in and hear a little bit more about your life, about your story, about where you're at now.
Thank you.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about your background, maybe where you got started and how you landed at JLL.
Great question. So I was an architect by trade. I went to Texas A&M. Don't hold that against me. I loved it so much I stayed for 2 degrees.
Okay.
I got a bachelor's of environmental design, and then I also got a master of architecture degree. Got out in 1995. The market was not great in 95, but it was good enough to find a job. And so I spent probably the first 5 years working for a school architect.
Oh, okay.
And I did public schools, mainly all around the state of Texas. So smaller towns. Always used to joke and say they were the small towns that you would see on weather alerts. They need to go, where's that?
Where's that?
Those were the towns I got to work in. So
And those are probably the towns now that we all know about because we just keep growing further out there.
Yes, Ponder,
Yeah.
Forestburg, Slidell, all these little towns that you never heard of unless there was a weather alert or a snow closing or something like that.
Uh-huh.
So, yes. So I started there. I worked there for about 3 years, and then I moved to another couple of firms. And as you know, in the Dallas market and architecture especially, the business ebbed and flowed. And so there were a lot of times where work was really good and work was really bad, right? And so the only way to really be promoted or move up on the ladder was to move around. And so unfortunately, that's just the way it was. So I spent my time at probably 4 or 5 firms. And then the market crash again in 2008 and 2010, I found myself looking for a job again. And I said, I think I want to try something different. And I had been on several projects where there was an owner's rep or a construction manager, and I thought, that's the job I want. I want to go do that and have a different relationship with ownership and really know the market well, know the projects well, and be able to understand from a cost impact and a schedule impact instead of just being focused on the architecture. Now, I'm a licensed architect. I still hold my license and keep that because I worked super hard to get it.
Right.
It is a brow beater of an exam and process, but I'm so glad I did it. And so I hold that license still. I'm not a member of the AIA anymore. I'll let that go. But I do hold my license. And so anyway, in 2010, I found myself looking for work again. And I thought, oh, I've been able to bounce back pretty quick, and I've been able to find a new job within a few weeks. A few weeks turned into a month turned into 6 months.
Oh.
And at that point, I had 3 children at home. I had I think Madeline was in junior high, and Caroline was in elementary school. Ben was in preschool.
I was gonna say that.
It's 17 now.
Yeah.
So it was a big hit, and so I really wanted to go find something different. And so I reached out to a lot of contacts, and I met with a lot of people. I had a lot of great connections in the market, but I needed that help. And this market, just a lot like more markets than most or less, our business is driven by relationships. And I've always had a saying that Dallas is the biggest small town there is, and everybody knows everybody. And your reputation is all you have.
That's all you have.
You
I
might
say
be
that a
great
lot.
on projects and you might be a great person, but your reputation is all you have in this market.
Mhm.
And I really, truly believe that.
Mhm.
So I've always been relationship driven. I'm very fortunate to have those relationships in this market. And it takes time. And that's one thing that I've tried to tell a lot of our young people is you have to get out and meet people. You have to get out and be at meetings and be at conferences and be at happy hours. You have to do that to build those relationships. And it's not an overnight thing.
So I read a research article, it's been a few years ago, and it said from the time you meet someone until the time they give you a chance to propose on a project, not to win a project, but the chance to propose on a project is 18 months. And
That's
that's not, hi Christian, and then in 18 months you give me a project.
nope.
That is, watering the garden for the next 18 months in hopes of hopefully this guy, we've built the relationship, he knows, likes, and trusts me to give me that opportunity.
That's a great statement, Andrea.
Mhm.
I really believe that. And I almost think 18 months might be a little too short.
Yeah, it
It
definitely could
could
be.
it could be longer.
Mhm.
And I also have another saying that relationships turn into at bats turn into opportunities.
Oh, I like that. Hmm.
And it takes time to cultivate those relationships.
Hmm.
And you'll have people that ebb and flow out of your life, out of your career. But if you can go find a stable of 5 to 10 strong relationships in this market, you will do well.
Hmm.
And guess what? It's reciprocating. They will do well as well.
100%. Yes. Yeah, it's so interesting when people just assume, well, I went to the meeting, so they're going to give me some work. And I'm like, that's not
That's not how it works.
how it works. I have a whole presentation on how it actually
Yeah,
works, and that's
yeah.
not in it.
So back to the story, I tapped a lot of those relationships. And I knew that I wanted to get out of being an architect and get into being an owner's rep or a project management person. And so it took some time, and it took 6 to 7 months. I was very fortunate that some of those relationships that I had were good enough relationships to tell me if I was doing something wrong,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
which was incredible. And I had one individual in this market that he met with me every Thursday until I found a job.
Oh, wow, that's nice.
Little did he know he was signing up for 26 30 days.
There you go.
But we met in person at his office, Ken Newman with Holt Lunsford Company.
Uh-huh.
And Ken and I met every Thursday, and he was an encourager. He would encourage me to go meet new people. He would hold me accountable to follow up. It was incredible. And I'm still to this day, it's 2025.
Still meeting with
And
them every Thursday.
well, no, we don't meet every Thursday, but we still stay connected.
Nice.
And I'm still grateful for that.
Oh, for sure.
I've not forgotten that.
Right. Yeah.
It's very important. And to this day, we can run into each other at an event and we pick right up where we left off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, relationships.
And so, anyway, I took a job with CBRE. I worked for CBRE for about 6 years.
Mhm.
And I was on an account the first couple of years with Baylor. So we did
Okay.
a lot of medical work. And then I switched over to the Samsung account for about 6 months. And then I was fortunate enough at that point to move over to their LMA, which was called local, stands for local market area,
Okay.
and started doing more brokerage fed tenant improvement
Nice.
projects.
Nice. Nice. And then from there to what you're doing right now.
Yeah. So again, 5 to 6 years later, I had an opportunity to leave CBRE, go to JLL. And the opportunity was more about focusing on broadening my horizons and my skill set. So I said, I think I want to go and join JLL and work on TD Ameritrade.
Nice.
TD Ameritrade was a very large project in South Lake,
Uh-huh.
Beautiful project. And so I got to be a part of that from about the time they broke ground to about the time we handed them the keys.
That's exciting.
Yes.
And it's exciting to be able to drive by and say, like, I had a part of that.
That's right.
And you know all the ins and the outs
Yes.
and everything.
Some things you want to share, some you don't, but most importantly, what a great experience.
And it's a beautiful project, I mean, it's a great project to drive by and see.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. So, worked on that project for about 2 years. And then I had an opportunity to kind of leave the development group and go start projects and manage projects in the tenant rep sector. And so I've been doing that since 2018. So 7 years.
Nice.
And so we work directly with our brokerage team internally. Fortunately, I've been blessed with opportunities to work outside of that realm and do other projects that aren't brokerage fit. And so I'm very fortunate. I like to say sometimes I'm kind of the tight end of the team. I get to receive and I get to block.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
so I've been able to work on some really nice projects like Bentry Country Club. We did that project for McLaren. I've done some very scary projects, which are 6, 7 floor restack remodels where you got to move people out, do the renovation work, move people back. It's all phased, very challenging.
And a deadline.
And yes, so very challenging, but a great experience.
Nice. Well, that's exciting.
Do you need reliable, high-quality service for your commercial project? Choose Carrco, the most trusted contractor in commercial painting, drywall, and floor coatings in DFW. With over 30 years of experience, Carrco delivers top-tier craftsmanship across Texas. From expert painting and seamless drywall and durable floor coatings, we handle it all, on time and on budget. Transform your space with the professionals at Carrco. Visit carcopainting.com today. Carrco, where quality meets reliability.
What are some key moments or challenges that you have had in either your career or your life?
Key challenge in life. I was very fortunate to be blessed with a great relationship with my grandparents. My parents separated and divorced when I was 6. I had no contact with my father.
Oh.
My grandfather stepped in and was my dad.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And it was a very special relationship. I'm very thankful for that. I lost them both in 2012. They were incredible people, but they were like my parents.
Oh,
And
nice.
I was so fortunate to have both of them. Most importantly, my grandfather, because I did not have a father figure, and he stepped in and he was a major influence in my life.
Did he do some things that you do with your kids? Like, is there something
Oh,
like,
I catch myself all the time saying things and doing things, and especially my relationship with my son, my grandfather, who is the one who introduced me to hunting and being outdoors, and so I've been very fortunate to take that hobby and expose my son to that.
Nice.
It's been an incredible time together. Yeah.
Nice.
I've got 1 year left, and then he's off to college.
But he's not going to be away forever.
He won't.
No.
Yes,
Yeah.
they do come back.
They do come back. What are some lessons that you've learned along the way, or any specific things that like really motivated you?
I think there's some really good things in our industry about, especially project management, follow up, follow up, follow up. And I think it's really easy to get in a project and everything's going smoothly, and you get a little lethargic, right? You're like, oh, it's kind of quote on autopilot. I had something happen about a year and a half ago on a project. It was 5,000 square feet. It was a very small project, very intense interiors project. And I got a little lackadaisical and something got behind on something else, and then it just compounded and compounded. And so my lesson there was, don't be lethargic. Just because you think it's a very small project and you can stay on top of it, and the general contractor's got that under control, all the third party vendors are lined up and everybody's working together, don't get lackadaisical.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that.
It will snowball on you quickly.
Well, and everyone probably does this once, and then they learn their lesson from it.
And you'll never do it again.
And you'll never do it. Hopefully, you'll never do it again.
I have another saying: what you don't learn on this job, you'll learn on the next one.
That's for sure. It's so interesting, like looking back over the years, and we all come into our first job. We don't know anything, And so it's just interesting. I go out on job site walks with the guys every other Thursday.
Okay.
I've been on more job walks in the past year than I have in the last 10 years. And I ask so many questions. And Oscar, I remember saying, because I was like, gosh, I'm sorry, I'm asking so many questions. And he said, Andrea, none of us knew all of this. He said, unless you ask the question, you won't know the answer. And he's like, keep asking. I thought, oh gosh, I feel so good about that
And
because
I'm glad you brought that up because I think that is a big problem we have today. I think our new generations that's coming in, they're scared to ask questions. They're terrified to show transparency. You have to ask questions,
you do.
and you have to have FaceTime, and you have to be in front of people. And there's a lot of that that's lost.
Hmm.
And so, if there's any advice I would give to the younger generation is exactly that:
Hmm.
continue to ask questions, continue to investigate, be present.
Hmm.
Yep.
Hmm. I think that there's a saying that says the smartest person in the room is the one that asks the most questions.
Yes.
So I know that that person can be annoying sometimes, but at least they're trying to learn more. And a
Yes.
lot of times they may be asking questions that there's 3 or 4 other people in the room that don't know the answer to it.
And they're thinking the same thing.
Hmm. At my women's networking group that I host, I have girls that are, 6 months into their career,
Wow.
all the way to women who have been in the industry for 40 years. And so I always kind of joke and say that it's a safe space. It is a safe space.
Sure.
And I know recently I had a young lady come and she didn't know to give a commercial. And so I was like, well, let me help you. And so you can say that your elevator pitch. And then the second meeting she came prepared and she read her her elevator pitch, and then people asked questions and her little eyes got so big like, I don't know the answers, but there was enough people in that room, we knew the answers.
Yeah.
Because we knew what her company does, and we've been around it longer than she has. And so it's one of those where it's everything can be a learning process,
Absolutely.
opportunity.
I love that you brought that up. And I think that's another thing that's gotten lost. And I think you're doing the right thing by bringing it back and encouraging that. You've got to get younger people paired up with older people.
Hmm.
I used to be the younger person. Now I feel like I'm the older person.
When did that happen?
I'm the turning into your parents commercials are
Yeah.
pretty legit.
Hmm.
And, but I really truly think that mentoring is something that has to happen. And I've been very fortunate to have had a mentor in my life. I have a guy that I meet every Friday.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's what I had mentioned to you before. He and I've met since 1997.
Wow.
And we've met 48 Fridays a year.
Wow.
We're pretty serious.
So are you guys kind of peer mentors, or
No.
is one?
So Ben is 75.
Okay.
He's almost old enough to be my dad,
Uh-huh.
but he's not.
Uh-huh.
And but we've been meeting every Friday, and we've done life together
Hmm.
since 1997. There's only one other relationship I've been in longer, and that's my bride.
That says a lot right there.
Right.
You
And
guys need to give each other anniversary gifts or
yeah,
something.
we should, right? We missed a couple of Fridays in a row, and we meet at the same restaurant,
Uh-huh.
Crossroads in Plano.
Uh-huh.
And we missed a couple of Fridays in a row, and then our usual waitress came, and it's good to see y'all back.
Yeah, we
I said we broke up. I said, but we're back together.
That's funny. Since joining the industry, I have been involved in a mentor, like a formal mentor protege program.
Awesome.
And there's Kathy Hutchison, who I always mention. I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it wasn't for her. And she's a wealth of knowledge. And so the formal program was 1 year. And at the end of it, I'm like, hey, so can you just keep me forever? And she laughed. And so we did meet regularly for another year or so. And then now we meet like once a quarter,
Okay.
but we're always on the phone or texting or something.
Yeah.
And it's just such a good relationship. And about 2 years ago, Crew Dallas started a mentorship program. And so I signed up for it. And I signed up to get a new mentor, to be a protege.
Yeah.
And I signed up, and all the girls there are 20. And they're like, Andrea, are you going to be a mentor? And I said, no, I signed up to get one.
Yeah.
So long story short, I've been meeting with her for 2 years now,
Okay.
and just once a month. And so it's just nice to bounce some ideas off of somebody. So yeah.
It's rewarding to be a mentor, and it's incredible to be on the receiving end of being a mentee. And I am truly grateful for Ben. My son's named after him.
I know. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And it's pretty special.
Oh, that's nice.
And I wouldn't trade it for anything.
There's a couple girls that I mentor, and I guess, I don't know, we're probably going on a year and a half too. Same thing with them. They're like, does it have to end? And I'm like, no, please, I want to keep you forever. I learned so much from them. And they keep saying, but what do I learn from you? And I'm like, well, you're keeping me up to date with all this tech stuff that you're doing in your office, or
Yeah.
you may be doing something a little bit different than I am, and perhaps I can, introduce that in my office. So it's great from both sides of it.
It really is. It's reciprocating.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, let's see. Well, okay, kind of off topic, but do your kids have mentors? Have they started doing that yet?
Actually, they've been mentors to other children,
Oh,
which is really
nice.
neat. Both of my younger children, so I have three,
Mhm.
my middle and my baby,
Uh-huh.
were both mentors at their junior high to the
Oh,
elementary school that was just across the field from their school.
that's
So
neat.
they did that for a long time. They called it PALS.
Uh-huh.
They love it. Ben is in the process of seeking one out,
Uh-huh.
and he's been very fortunate to have had a lot of external influence in his life, just besides his dad.
Right.
And so
Well, and I think he talks to the AOS guys quite a bit, right? Yeah.
So Ben has been very fortunate to have Shane in his life.
Yes.
Shane is an incredible guy. I'm so
Mhm.
thankful to know him and have him as a friend. And he's been so gracious to include my son.
That's nice.
And it's really fun when we go on a hunting trip together. I
Uh-huh.
sit in the back of the side by side. Those two ride in the front
Just
seat.
yeah.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
they have each other's phone numbers.
Oh, nice.
When Shane was running a lot and my son's in cross country and
Uh-huh.
track,
Uh-huh.
they would text each other their times
Oh,
and
nice.
kind of give each other a hard time, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just really really neat.
Yeah.
And my son's been very fortunate to not only have Shane, but there's 5 other men that
Oh, nice.
his dad's age and his wife that not a lot of kids have.
Right.
So I'm planning a dinner for Ben
Uh-huh.
in September,
Oh, nice.
and the price of admission is a letter to Ben.
Oh, that's
And
nice.
so he's been very fortunate to have these 6 men in his life that would take care of him if ever anything, gosh forbid, anything
Yep.
ever happened to
Yep.
dad. But
Yeah.
more importantly, as he goes to life,
Uh-huh.
he has 6
Oh, that's
people
nice.
in his dad that could help him.
That's really
It's
nice.
pretty impressive.
That's really nice.
Not a lot of kids have that.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
You kind of just
Yeah.
go about life and hope these people fall into your lap.
Yes. Yes. And so he's 17 and he has 6 men in his life already,
Yeah,
which is really neat.
that's nice. And they've been approved by you.
Yes.
You know that they're
Stamped and
you-
approved. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes.
That's really
I would say that his relationship with Shane is probably the strongest, and hey, Shane's a great guy, and we've had a lot of fun together, and I'm truly grateful to have
Yeah.
him as a friend.
hmm
But he didn't have to do that.
right.
And look at the relationship now with my son.
That's nice.
It's really neat.
That's cool. What is something that was unique or surprising in your journey to keep and that was inspiring for you?
Unique or surprising?
Mm-hmm.
I think it gets back to the relationship thing.
Okay.
I didn't really think through that as I was starting my career and getting involved in business groups and networking, and I didn't really think much about relationships. And I think it's a culmination of my life history with, growing up without a dad and having a grandfather who was an influence. That kind of opened my eyes a little bit to realize that it's okay. There's people out there that can help fill those voids. And so it wasn't a surprise to me, but I think it was eye opening to me. And so I've been fortunate to take that family history and apply that to my relationships in life.
Well, and they don't teach that relationship thing in school.
Nothing's taught that
You
way.
do your worksheet, you hand it in, you get
Yes.
a grade, and that's the end of it.
Yes.
So it's been a few years ago, but there was a couple years in a row when I would go back to Purdue and I would guest lecture there, but all about business development.
Yeah.
And so I would tell these engineers who don't want to have a conversation with anyone, that they have to have FaceTime, that they have to
Yes.
take people to lunch, that they're going to
Yeah.
go to coffee with them. And it was always funny because there was one little boy he was probably 20, in the front, and he mouthed, "I'm so scared." And I just started laughing and I said, "Hey, like, I'm glad that I'm telling you this now
Yeah.
because it is going to be expected." And I can remember years ago, there was a young man who he said, "Andrea, I don't need any more friends. I have enough friends. I just want to do my work." And so then I had to explain, I'm not asking you to make friends. I'm asking you to build business relationships. But ultimately, at the end of the day, who are your best friends? People in this industry.
That's
And so this kid, he just didn't know. No one told him. And he just thought I wanted him to make new friends. I'm like, no, that's not the purpose of this.
You have to make time. You have to make that a priority.
You do.
I think it's really easy these days with Teams calls, conference calls, uh, you know, everything from face to face that went away in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to come back.
Yes,
And I think it is coming
I
back.
do too.
But that's a lost art. I think there's a whole generation out there that doesn't understand that.
If it's just on their phone, yeah.
That's right. And I think you really have to learn how to talk to people and relate with people. That is key. My grandfather always told me, he said, shine your shoes, comb your hair, wear a nice shirt,
Uh-huh.
and give them a strong, firm handshake and look them in the eye,
Yes.
and you'll go places.
Yes. Oh, I love
And I
that.
think there's a lot to that.
Uh-huh.
It's very simple, but there is a lot to it. And I think that's missing. And I think we kind of got in this little, I'll call it a bar ditch, if you will, during 2020. And I think we're finally getting out of that bar ditch. But it is key. You have to do it. You have to make time to go meet with people. You have to, it's easy to sit behind your computer and say, I really don't have time. I have a Teams call. I have this. I have to get these meeting minutes out. I have to do a schedule. I have to have this other phone call. You have to make time.
And then a year goes by and you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen him in a year.
Exactly.
Like, what's happening?
Exactly. Yep.
So yeah, it's interesting. Whenever I teach like business development stuff, I'm like, come up with questions. Come up with
Yes.
questions that you're interested in.
Yes.
And I said, literally, type them on your phone, save them in the notes section, put it in your pocket. Before you walk in, have those 5 or 6 questions.
Mhm.
And I have 5 or 6 that are my go-tos because I'm interested in it, And so I want to know, like, I think my 5 always are: where do you live? Where'd you go to college? What are your hobbies? When's your next vacation? Like, those are good, fun
Yeah.
questions. But then I have to encourage you have to have answers to those things too. Because if you say, hey, what's your hobbies? And then you get a 20-minute answer and they say, what's your hobbies? I don't have any. Well, that's not going to work. So you have to learn that art of communication. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think you're right. I intentionally am relationship driven. It's just my personality.
Mhm.
And so
Me
I
too.
have exactly.
Mhm.
I have sometimes five breakfasts a week
Yes.
or 5 coffees a week.
Mhm.
I typically have 4 to 5 lunches a week.
Mhm.
And sometimes I joke, I said, I'm getting a little older. The happy hours are harder to get to
Right.
because I got to go home, go to bed.
Uh-huh.
So I always joke about I have one more year till Ben graduates to go to college, and I have 1 year left to use him as an excuse. But the point is, I try to have as many meetings as I can outside of work. And it might be people that I'm working with on a project,
Yes.
but I have to have that interaction.
Yep.
I really struggled during 2020. It was a challenge for me, 2020, 2021,
Yeah.
of just not being with people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like you, I'm booked every day for lunch and
Yeah.
coffees every day, and then things. It's fun because when I have meetings with clients, if I bring a couple of my guys with me, it's nice because then I have 30 minutes there and back to just chit chat and kind of catch up with them,
That's right.
So, yeah. So kind of switching gears into like more industry stuff. What are you seeing right now as industry trends? Are you seeing any challenges? How are you facing those challenges?
Well, last 2 weeks, tariffs.
I know.
Tariffs have been a real big challenge. In fact, it seems like every call now, that's the subject.
Mm-hmm.
Think about 2020, it was about availability. It was drywall and studs
Yeah.
and switchgear,
Mm-hmm.
and now it's all about tariffs.
Ah.
So I'm seeing a lot of projects that orders had to be placed, whether it's furniture, whether it's getting a contract signed with a general contractor, ordering material, got to do it now or tariffs are coming. So I think that's going to be a big impact on us. Fortunately, the work continues to come in, and I'm grateful for that. But I do think it's going to impact our business.
Yeah, I feel like everything is really booming right now, and I'm curious what's going to happen with all that as well.
Yeah, and I think I had this conversation this morning. Are we going to pull the Band-Aid off really fast? Or are we going to take our time and, it's okay, we're going to go slow?
We don't know.
Or should we just yank it off?
I hope we all just rip off the Band-Aid. That would help us out, right?
I do too. So I think that's going to be the big topic of discussion for the next few weeks. Work, as I said, continues to flow, and we're grateful for that. I think we are going to probably have to do a little more hunting than harvesting, if you will. We're going to have to go out and really chase some stuff.
Which is when all of your relationships come into play.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I've been the last few networking things, that's kind of been top topic. So the tariffs and everything. Is there any sort of actionable advice for any of our listeners or anyone watching who may be in your similar role, similar field?
Yes. I would say, again, you have to get out and be with people. This is how business gets driven. It's easy to sit behind your laptop and exchange emails. And, we get a lot of people reaching out to us for work and, leads and things like that. And, the worst is you get an email that says, hey, is there anything I can help you with? Or, hey, you guys have any projects coming up? That's not how it works.
Right.
And so I think you have to really, my advice to not only people my age and younger, you got to get out and be with people. That's how business gets driven.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. Let's see, what are you most passionate about in your job, and what are some of your future goals?
Passionate about my job is obviously my customer satisfaction. I always love handing the keys to my customers and saying, here's your big, beautiful new project.
Nice.
That's been my favorite thing about my job is watching them see the project come to fruition.
Yeah.
And, there's always the hurdle up front about, do I really trust this person or not? That's them talking about me. and it takes time, right? You got to build trust and loyalty and commitment, TLC basically. And that takes an effort and some time on our part, but that is the best rewarding part. When you walk in, the punch is done, furniture's in, and the customer is occupying the space and they go, wow, this is amazing.
Nice. Well, and it's such a long process too.
It is.
And it gets real messy, but it's real pretty.
It does. Yes. And it's always scary at the last minute, right? You're like, really going to make it?
Yeah. One of the things I learned on one of my mini job walks was like for paint, like our final punch list. We would do our final punch and then they would have the cleaning crew come in. And I didn't think anything of it. And then Oscar, who I mentioned earlier, he said the cleaning crew will rest their brooms on the wall and then the brooms fall down. And so it's, a whole big scratch on it. So it's like, gosh, I didn't even think about that. So there's so many things that you may or may not even consider. And you're like, oh, now we have to paint again.
Time to touch up.
Time for another touch up.
Yep. Goals, I would say, would be, I really want to start more leading people. I love being a project manager. I love being involved in projects, but I love leading people. I love mentoring people. I would love to have that opportunity in the future, and I think that will come.
Nice.
But goal-wise, yes, developing people and having the ability to build on the relationships that I've been very fortunate to have and how they can drive business with each other.
Would this be like a formal program with curriculum that you would offer at your office or more of a casual kind of?
I think it's more casual.
Yeah.
I think it's more casual, but it's definitely relationship driven.
Once a month, I do a training in our office for our project managers and estimators. And I think I've opened it up to a few more people. And I kind of listen, like, what are some things what have they been dealing with this month? And then it's kind of quick impromptu, let me throw a presentation together and let's just talk about it,
Yeah.
you know? And so we've had things, I've given presentations on like emotional intelligence, how to read the room, those types of things. Because so many times, like you said, so many things are email or text or phone. We don't get to see, you know, what does it mean when somebody's sitting there with his arms crossed and his, forehead wrinkled? What does that mean? And so it's nice to kind of teach those things where for some people they get it, and some people they might need that extra little.
It's inherent for some people,
Mhm.
right? I like to think it's inherent for me. I can read a room pretty easily, so can you.
Yeah.
But a lot of people can't.
Years ago, I went to lunch with an engineer, and there was a guy. His literally his arms were crossed, and he said sure.
Oh,
And so after the meeting, the engineer said, "Oh, I think that really went great." He agreed to it. He said sure, and I said, "Did you not see that his arms were crossed?" He was angry when he said sure.
yeah.
And I said, that was not the outcome that we wanted.
That
And
did
so,
not go well.
so we
Yeah.
need to have some training on this, which is where that was created from.
Oh, good, good.
Okay, so I want to move on to some more stuff just about you. What are some of your hobbies? I think I know your number one hobby.
Well, again, I love to be outdoors. I love to hunt and fish, and more hunt than fish. I've been fortunate that my son is now 17, so he's been fortunate to go with me on some of these trips, and that's making memories. I'm very fortunate to have that, and uh, so yes, hunting is a big hobby of mine. I love to cook.
Okay.
There's a lot of jokes out there. I have a passion for barbecuing and cooking, and so I do a brisket clinic,
Oh,
and I offer that to folks in the industry.
okay.
It's a lot of fun.
Let's take a note
Yeah,
of this.
we'll set one up. It's a great customer event. I usually take about 6 people,
Okay.
just because I have a table for 6.
That's neat.
I do it at my home,
House.
and it's very intimate, setting. But more importantly, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And it's a great way to build a bridge with a customer
Uh-huh.
that may not even be from Texas, right?
And they don't know how to do all of these things if they're
Exactly.
not from Texas.
Exactly. So that just kind of came out of nowhere, but
Uh-huh.
it's kind of a fun little hobby of mine.
I like that.
So I love doing that. I love spending time with my bride, and I love doing things outside of home with her, travel and whatnot. But most importantly, it's again, it's relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
With your hunting, what do you have coming up? Are you going any place exotic or?
No, the season's kind of over now.
Okay.
Yeah, turkey season I think is going on right now.
Okay.
And then it's going to be really quiet
Okay.
until September.
Okay.
And the dove season will pick back up in September, and then it'll trickle in with deer season and duck season. And
do you stay pretty much in Texas or do you? Okay.
now, fortunately, I've been invited on a few trips to call it South Dakota,
Oh, okay.
Kansas,
Okay.
to do pheasant and quail,
Okay.
which is a great experience. A great experience. It's beautiful up there. You don't realize how flat it is till you're there. You're like, it's flat as this tabletop.
Like you think Texas is flat and then you go off there.
Yes. The most fun part for me of bird hunting is watching the dogs work.
That's what Will
It's
says.
incredible. Yeah. It's incredible to watch that.
And then you come home to your dog that has no training. I'm speaking for myself.
No,
My dog that has no training whatsoever and would not be helping out.
It's just on the couch like, hey, when are you going to put food in the bowl?
Yeah, and then let me go back to sleep.
Yeah. Yes.
Do your daughters go hunting or do they shoot or anything?
No, they don't.
Okay.
Now, I took Maddie, my oldest, she's 25 now.
Uh-huh.
She lives in Chicago. I took her on a couple of deer hunting trips, and she had a great time, but wasn't really her thing.
Okay.
Caroline wasn't her thing.
No.
Yep.
Okay.
And so the boy is, Ben was very fortunate to inherit the opportunity. I should say, yes.
I'm kind of going back and forth here. So your daughter's in Chicago. Has she mentioned anything about relationships, how we do it here in Texas versus how they're doing it in Chicago?
Oh, it's very different up there. Yes. And she struggles with that.
Yeah.
It's a different mindset.
So I just had a friend recently move and she's like, Andrea, they're transactional here.
Oh,
it is not relationships. So
yeah, there's no small talk. It's let's get business done and we're done.
Isn't that interesting?
It is interesting. It's a Southern thing.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, what is a defining moment or a philosophy that you live by?
Wow. uh, defining moment or philosophy. Uh, I would say that you have to have people in your life
Mhm.
that are going to invest in you, but it's reciprocal. You have to invest in people as well.
I like
And
that.
again, that takes effort. I don't know that everybody understands that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not an automatic thing.
Right.
You have to make time for that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, I like that. Who or what inspires you the most?
Hmm. I would say that I mentioned my
Mhm.
grandfather. He was very inspirational.
Mhm.
I still like to think that he is looking down,
Uh-huh.
and I hope I've made him proud.
I'm sure you have.
Uh,
I'm sure you have.
and he was a very inspiring person, and he had a lot of crazy, funny sayings,
Uh-huh.
and the girls would always joke about that and giggle, and
Uh-huh.
but they were really fortunate to have known him, and he was an inspiration to me.
What did he do for a living?
He was not in our industry.
Okay.
He was in the grocery business,
Interesting.
and he worked for the same company for 42
Wow.
years, which
That's
is unheard
it's
of.
unheard of. We have a couple guys that just celebrated 25 and 26 years, I believe.
That's a big deal.
So, mhm.
That's a big deal.
So Carco's been in business for 30 years. So they pretty much came on board pretty
Yeah.
quickly with Javier, and then
Yeah.
now they've stayed. So
Yeah. Well, he started at the Kroger company when he got back from Germany serving in the army.
okay.
So he was a sharpshooter in the army.
Oh wow.
We call them snipers these days. But he was a sharpshooter. He
Uh-huh.
would take a rooftop or a group of bushes or something and hang out and wait for the target.
Wow.
And that's how he got into hunting
Uh-huh.
because he was such a good marksman.
Uh-huh.
And so everything that he taught me as a kid
Uh-huh.
about being a marksman, I did some long distance shooting a few years ago.
Uh-huh.
Everything that he taught me as a kid was exactly the same thing. It's
Interesting.
really neat. Yeah.
I haven't done any long distance anything, but it's on my list. I have
It's
lots of things that are on
it's
my
an
list.
experience.
Yeah.
I went on this trip with a couple of guys back probably 7 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And I was completely unprepared. I had an old bolt action rifle with a fixed scope. I didn't have the big fancy,
Oh.
scopes that these rifles have now,
Uh-huh.
and I didn't have the shooting mat.
You
And
came home with
I
a
stopped
shopping
at
list.
I stopped at to buy
Yeah.
a yoga mat on my way to the training, and I felt a little out of place.
So I have a funny story. Years ago, I went out with a client to go shooting, and
Yeah.
a yoga mat fell out of the back of his car. And I said, "Oh, you do yoga?" And he said, "No, Andrea, this is my shooting mat." I said, "Looks like a yoga mat to me." I kept it going for like 5 minutes.
Oh, that's
I'm
awesome.
like, "No, yoga. You must be doing yoga." That's cool. I actually signed up for a year-long women's gun class
Good
this
for you.
year that started in January.
Good for
And so twice a month we meet, and once a month it's out at their ranch.
Okay.
And so there's like a couple hours of classroom, and then there's some like dry firing practice, and then there's practice out for the targets and
On the
everything
range.
on the range.
Mhm.
And then they have offered a couple extra trainings. And so in 2 weeks there's a training, like I forget what it's called, but it's basically how to get out of a situation if you have to carry people or
Wow. That's pretty intense.
about
Yeah,
this one. I think
it's
that'll
pretty
be cool.
intense. Good. That'll be great.
Okay. Quick fire questions, which are never quick because I want to know more information. What's the last book that you read?
Wow. Well, I'm reading a book right now called God Space, and it's about evangelism,
Oh,
and it's
nice.
a really, really unique. It talks about more listening than talking,
Ah,
and really engaging with the other individual. And so, my mentor Ben, who I mentioned, he and I read these kind of books, and they're incredible. So anyway, I'm reading God Space right now.
nice. I always say we have 2 ears and one mouth, and
Yes,
use them accordingly.
that's right. That's right. Yep.
What is your favorite quote?
Well, I think some of my favorite quotes are some of my grandfather's quotes.
Okay.
And you're going to put me on the spot, and I probably won't be able to remember any of them, but I catch myself saying them all the time.
Okay. No,
And
I get it.
yes,
Uh-huh.
and so yes, I would say there's some of his quirkiness,
Those are the ones
like
that you
like
remember.
one of my favorites was, someone must not have loved that man when he was a child, or life's hard. It's even harder when you're stupid, you know. That's a John Wayne quote, by the way.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, that's funny. What is a skill you would like to learn?
Wow. If I could learn a little bit more about spreadsheets, I challenge myself. I'm really we have so many new, I'll call it accounting, timekeeping platforms, and they change.
Uh-huh.
Just as you get used to one, here comes another one.
Mhm.
And my boss, Vince, would always tell me, it's okay, it's going to change in about 6 months and it's going to be different. And it's true. But I really need some help on some of these new things that are coming through. And again, I joked about the commercials from Progressive about turning into your parents, but I really feel like that's happening. It's like, okay, and I'm really catching myself now having to write down everything,
Notes. Taking some
really write down everything. And so, fortunately, we have someone on our team, Jeanette, who's just been incredible. She's like our dead mother, and she just makes sure that we are not in trouble on an accounting standpoint.
nice.
And she's awesome. She will step in and say, "Hey, you need to get in and do this today,"
Uh-huh.
because she knows how busy we are.
Uh-huh.
And so she'll make sure that we're not behind the eight ball on
That's
something.
nice.
Yes. And I'm working right now to set up a time with her because we're transitioning again to another platform. And
Uh-huh.
you have to close all these projects out in one platform and then reload them into another platform. And I'm just sitting here going, I think I'm going to need some help with that.
Yeah. Well, and good for you for recognizing that and not
Oh,
just.
yeah, no, I'm the first one to admit it. I'm not the specialist.
We have a guy back in the drywall department, Alonzo, and he
Yeah.
is like the spreadsheet guru. He
Oh,
knows
yeah.
everything about spreadsheets. You click this button and it takes you to here, and you click that button and it gives you this drop down. And
Yeah.
I don't know how he does it. So,
Yeah, that's a special skill set.
I
I
don't.
think because I'm so social, it's just not,
We don't have time for that.
it's not in my quiver of arrows. Yeah.
Uh-huh. What's the favorite city that you have visited?
Oh, wow. Well, I was fortunate enough to go on a study abroad program when I
Oh.
was in college,
Mhm.
and we went to 6 Greek islands, and then we ended up in Turkey
Oh,
and
nice.
spent a week in Turkey. So we did Ephesus, Istanbul, and then flew back. Not sure I'd do that these days, but back in the '90s, it was a great trip, especially as a college student.
Yeah.
I would say the coolest city I ever went to was Santorini in Greece.
Oh, nice. We haven't been.
It's a volcanic island.
Uh-huh.
It's a huge crater that's now filled by the Aegean Sea.
Uh-huh.
And you can ride a donkey to the top, and then you can ride back or you can walk down.
Uh-huh.
Unbelievable city.
Nice. Was it? I bet it was just beautiful.
It's beautiful. The
Mhm.
water, the photographs do not do it any
And the
justice.
photographs are beautiful. So,
Yes.
wow.
Yes.
Okay, we might have to add that to our list.
You should. When I get some kids out of college, I'm going to
You might go back.
Yes.
What is your favorite construction project that you have been a part of?
Wow. I've been really fortunate. I've done a country club. I did a really neat project for McLaren.
So
That might
basically,
be
since I love cars so much,
Yeah,
let's talk about that one.
McLaren was a really fun project. McLaren was originally designed to be like Jay Leno's garage.
Okay.
Nobody wanted anybody to know
Mm-hmm.
that there were these cars parked in this space at this address.
Uh-huh.
So very, very inconspicuous, no renovation on the outside, just need to look like a warehouse building.
Uh-huh.
And then we hit COVID.
Mm.
The project went on hold. And it went on hold for about 6 to 7 months. And we didn't think it was going to come back.
Okay.
And when it did come back, my customer called me and he said, "Hey, project's back." He goes, "Even better news, we almost tripled our budget."
Nice.
And
That's
I'm like,
always a
finally,
good
we can do a real project.
Yeah.
Because we were going to wire it up and do some technology things, put some used furniture in the space, gussy up the warehouse area, and that was it. And when it came back, it was a real project. So He said, all that used furniture we bought that's sitting in a Connex out in the parking lot, get rid of it. We don't want it. I said, awesome.
Yeah.
So that's easy. So really unique project. It was a training center to teach people how to work on McLarens.
Oh.
It also served as their Dallas headquarters
Okay.
because they didn't have an office. They were in a WeWork space 2 blocks away.
That's crazy.
And if you needed to go buy a McLaren,
yeah.
you had to go to a dealer.
Okay.
So now they handle all that operation at this facility. And so it's part office, part training, part presentation, storage, and then there's a shop in the back where they teach people how to work on them.
Interesting.
There's lifts back there. It looks like a clean room, super white on white, beautiful space. It's even more beautiful when there's some brightly colored McLarens.
For sure.
And then we have a storage area in the back that has a ramp down because it's an industrial space. And it's 4-foot dock in the back. And then we have a big fence in the back where we can store up to 10 McLarens back there.
Nice.
And it was a really unique project and had a lot of fun with that. The customer was an incredible individual. We still stay connected. Again, relationship person.
Yeah.
He and I are still connected. We do things together outside of work, and
nice.
I'm grateful for that friendship.
That's fun.
Yeah, Derek's a great guy, but really unique. One of the best parts about the project was the MSO, is what they called it, McLaren Special Operations.
Okay.
So there's a room where you can go in, and it has flat files and AV. And you can go, and when you're ready to buy your McLaren,
I can build it.
Let me know when you're ready. I'll get you an appointment.
2:00 p.m.
Okay,
today.
perfect. You called there to get us in. So very, very unique experience. So you make an appointment, you show up. There's charcuterie and whiskey and champagne, and you have a nice little clink glasses and toast yourself that you're about to buy a McLaren. And then you go in and you design it. So there's big, heavy AV, a big, giant retractable screen that goes up into the ceiling and comes down. And you pick out reverse stitching, your fabric colors, any carbon fiber you may want to put on the car, design the dashboard configuration, design the tailpipe configuration, colors, all that. Pick it all out. And then a couple of years later, they call you back, right? Because it's a hand-built car. They call you and they go, Andrea, your McLaren's ready. You want to come get it? You say, absolutely, I want to come get it. So you show back up, clink some more glasses, have some more whiskey and champagne, and you go into this same room that you were in before. And on this screen, they show footage of them building your car. They might interview the mechanic that tuned your engine. They might interview the guy that sewed the seats together. And then they show footage of them testing your car.
That's cool.
And then, dun, da, 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 the screen goes up. And behind the screen is your car.
Nice. Oh, that's exciting.
It's pretty fancy. They didn't do it for me when I bought my Infiniti.
Oh, you know different, so
yeah. So anyway, it's a very unique project. Very thankful to have worked on it. Got a lot of accolades.
That's cool.
And it's a neat space. I mean, it's an incredible customer and product that they provide. So you know it's going to be a very unique space.
Right, right. It's always neat to have those types of projects because people know the brand name. You know, we have a lot of those in our. Oh, I know what that is.
Yes.
And then there's some projects that are just as great, but people have never heard about it, but they get excited about like, ooh, everybody knows what a McLaren is, and you can kind of think about what the experience would look like.
Yes.
Yeah, that's cool.
Very unique project.
Well, selfishly, I'm glad that was your answer to that question. Okay, so I feel like I wanted to make sure for you to tell me about your MVP.
Thank you. MVP stands for Emerging Vets and Players. It was founded in 2015 by Jay Glazer, probably know that name, and Nate Boyer. Nate Boyer was former Seattle Seahawks quarterback, played for UT. Or if you went to A&M like I did, you may say TU.
I'm from
Little T, little U.
Yeah.
And then he was also a Green Beret.
Oh, okay.
So they founded it in 2015. It is an incredible organization. It's completely geared around vets and former athletes. And so when you're in the military and you're part of a platoon or a company and you go see action, you're embedded with that platoon, right? They're your brothers. When you get out of the military, you don't have it anymore. Your brothers may live in Wisconsin, you live in Texas. You're not together anymore, right? So there's some struggle there from a social standpoint of going from that to being in society.
Mm-hmm.
And NFL players, NBA players,
Same thing.
they struggle with the same
Never
thing.
thought
They've
about
been
that.
part of a team, right?
Right.
Part of a team, part of a team, part of a team, and then all of a sudden they're not playing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They're living in a house and they have a family, but they don't have anybody around them. It's not again relationships.
Right.
So Nate and Jay put this together in 2015. It's incredible. It's organized around a workout.
Okay.
And they have locations all across the country. I just felt like it's a very unique cause. There's so much truth to it. It also connects with our industry.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of former military and reservists that are in our industry. It is a natural fit.
Mm-hmm.
And so my friend Shane, who we mentioned earlier, who has such a great relationship with my son, my friend Shane reached out to me and he said, let's go start one. And so we said, you know what? I think that's a great idea. Shane's a big avid sporting clay shooter. I love to shoot sporting clays. I'm not as good as Shane. There's always pressure when I'm shooting with Shane because I know I'm going to be the anchor. But it's just a great cause. And so we started this fundraiser event last year. So 2024 was our first year. Our first event got rained out.
Oh.
And it rained incredible. It was unbelievable. It was like biblical proportions of rain. So we got about halfway through the shooting. We had a great party. We did great. It was our first year, but we got the word out. This year, I would say we had about 400 people.
Nice.
We had an incredible return on investment.
Oh, good.
We will be presenting a big check to MVP.
Nice.
And this is our second year, and I think we doubled our team size. We had 47 teams this year.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And we had all three courses out at Dallas Gun Club.
Nice.
It's a fun event. And we had catered lunch, catered dinner, raffle, auction.
Yeah.
It's just an incredible cause. And so what a fun event.
It's really nice to see the people come together in this industry.
It really is.
I find it fascinating because you have like the gruff construction guys, you know, and then they'll say, hey, we're raising money for XYZ. And they all of a sudden their checkbook's out. And it's like, how much do you need? You know?
I'm telling you, it's one of the most generous industries there is. One of the most generous markets. I should say that.
Yeah, I can remember years ago there was a fundraising thing and the lady had like the big check.
Yeah.
And then a lady came from the back and she goes, no. Like this is what was donated this morning when we wrote the check.
Wow.
And then this is the new check. And it was like $10,000 more, $20,000 more. So it was just like, just from the sign up, hey, oh, how much money do you need? And let's get
I think it's another saying I have. I know I have a lot, but you know, if you really want to get involved, go serve. And I think that this event has really given all of us an opportunity to serve this community.
That's nice.
It's been really fun. Very rewarding.
Is there anything else like that you belong to or you're a part of or you have done in the past? Or
off and on, I had a clay shoot that I was involved in for Dallas Children's Advocacy Center.
Okay, yeah.
For about 4 or 5 years. I left that to go start MVP's clay shoot.
Nice.
But yes, I've been involved in that. I'm also a big advocate of 22 Kill.
Okay, yeah.
You've heard of that. I think they call themselves One Tribe now.
Okay.
Because they had a whole bunch of different organizations that they kind of blanketed, so they came up with one name. But
nice.
Dan Lombardo and I are very good friends. Dan is another one that's coming to that dinner for my son.
Oh, nice.
Because of their friendship. But more importantly, again, relationships. And so 22 Kill, I've been involved in that for a long time. Big time supporter of that.
Tell us what that is, if we don't.
So sure, 22 Kill got its name because 22 veterans try to take their life every day. So the concept was, let's kill it. Let's eliminate that. And so Dan's a very, very good friend of mine. He works for Beck Construction. And Dan has been very, very involved in that for the last several years. So
nice.
It's fun to help support them.
Were you in the military?
I was not.
Okay. Was your grandfather? Your grandfather was. That's right. Because he was a sniper.
That's right.
That's going to be my life.
Yep.
Is there anything else that you were like, man, I really wanted to talk about XYZ? Because I feel like we've gone through.
We got through a lot, didn't we? I would just say that, again, I keep saying, bringing up this word, but I think relationships are key in this industry.
Mhm.
They're key in your career. You have to get out and be with people. You have to be present,
Mm.
and it takes effort, but it pays dividends. I look back now at, the stage I'm at my career, and I wouldn't be where I was without those relationships.
Yeah, I can't. That needs to be like a slogan for. We need to put
Yes,
that on a shirt or something.
I know, right? It's a good shirt
Mhm,
quote
mhm.
or hat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, on a hat
yeah.
in camo.
In camo, yes.
Okay, so in the show notes, I'm gonna put your LinkedIn
Okay,
in
thank you.
there so people can connect with you.
Yes,
Is
please do.
it, would you like me to add in the link for your MVP and
Yes,
20? Okay,
please.
I can add
Yes,
that.
please.
So all that will be in the show notes. Is there anything else that you're like this? The audience needs to get a hold of me here, or they need to.
Obviously, I'm on Facebook,
Okay.
Instagram. Not as much on Instagram. I'm probably showing my age. Uh, but yeah, I'm out there. So yeah, come find me. LinkedIn and Facebook are the easiest ways
Okay.
to find me.
Awesome. Okay. Well, this is it. I appreciate you coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me in.
Yeah.